Hey, welcome to Chaplain Chat. I'm having a great time. We're at Rob's house. Rob Fleming wrote this book, Walking It Out. Now, how do I do this God thing? And we've been going over chapters, and you've been kind of giving a brief idea of each chapter. Well, chapter 5, we'll post how they can get a hold of you and how they can get this book and all this. It's a great book, great read. But chapter 5 is, how far are you willing to go? And because this is Chaplain Chat, I got to show you what popped into my mind. When I was
This is going to be scary.
I know, it is really going to be bad. But when I was in high school, our youth group, our leaders decided they wanted to have a good talk with us, Christian group, on how far should you go on a date. You know, and so we were all gathering, boys and girls, and I remember one of our youth leaders, they said, now anything you guys want to talk about, anything, it's fine, everything stays here, don't worry, we won't be shocked about anything. And so they asked this question, well, how far should you go on a date? And they said, Dal, now my friend Dal, well, he was an interesting dude. And they asked Dal, and Dal said, in this Christian group, he says, well, I think you should go as far as you want, but no hitting below the belt. She was so embarrassed, she walked out of the room. Thus went the talk. Anyway.
That was the end of that.
That was the end of that. Rob, chapter 5. How far are you willing to go? What did you mean as you wrote this book? How do you follow that?
It's not easy, John.
Yeah.
It's not easy to follow you in anything. How far are you willing to go? Really, I think that segment of the book deals with the whole concept of surrender, of living a surrendered life. I had gotten to the place, and I think that we all, in order to experience the full restoration that God has for us and everything that God has for us, we have to truly surrender our lives to God. And oftentimes what that looks like is doing things that we don't necessarily understand, but we know that God has for us to do. Many times when God asks us to do something, and those things are all in His will, you know, in the Bible. It's not brain surgery to know what God would have us do. You know, walking with God is no more complicated than decision by decision, choice by choice. What would God have me do?
Wow.
And we know in here, it's not a complicated issue. And the Bible teaches that if we don't know what to do, to ask God, and He'll make it clear what we're to do. But walking in obedience is not a complicated issue. And that chapter really, it deals with the whole concept of living a surrendered life, and that means doing what God would have us do, no matter what.
No matter what.
No matter what.
That's how far you're willing to go.
I was willing to do whatever it took to feed my habit, whatever it took.
Whatever it took.
And we have to have that same willingness, that same determination when we walk with God.
Wow, that's fantastic. Chapter 5, how far are you willing to go? And Rob, this is great. And God's good.
Yes.
Thank you for watching, and Rob, thank you for being on.
Chaplain Chat.
All right, hey, we're getting that nailed down.
Yes, we are.
All right, there we go.